This video contains strong adult language, may not be suitable for children or sensitive people. Boom boom.
The Dallas Cowboys' Tony Romo's injury in 2015. The year is 2015, and Tony Romo has suffered a broken collarbone in week 2 against the Eagles. After briefly returning, Romo re-injured the collarbone on Thanksgiving, ending his season. Those Cowboys went 4-12, struggling without their star quarterback. Man, I miss those days. It's amazing that Jason Garrett, aka the Clapper, actually survived that season and went on to coach 4 more seasons in Arlington, which for Cowboys fans is not a positive. Dallas Cowboys. Just like the Cowboys winning a Super Bowl in the 90s, not many of you will actually remember this loss. Super Bowl 13 in 1979 turned out to be bad luck for them boys, as Jackie Smith dropped a wide open TD late, which would have tied the game. Instead, they had to settle for a field goal and ended up losing 35-31. Also, every year Dak loses in the playoffs hurts, not just when it happens, but then Cowboys fans can't log into their socials for a month after. Dallas Cowboys 2024. Oh my God, we're witnessing history in real time. This may not end up being the worst season in terms of win-losses, but it will be the most hilarious ever. The Cowboys are tethered to Dak Prescott, who's now lost for the season. They can't adjust to the literal sun, and they are injured to all fuck, while Jerry Jones swears he isn't the problem. In all their home games so far, they've trailed by at least 20 points. Maybe the sun blinding everyone is a genius move, so the fans can't see this terrible on-field product. It's getting so bad that we're gonna see Trey Lance soon. This after Jera said he would be going all in on a season with huge expectations. Something is all in, all right, and the city of Dallas has been walking funny all year. Dallas Cowboys. This offseason, good old Jera boy decided it was time to go all in. All in my ass. The solution? Sign Ezekiel Elliott. And right after you gave Dak the bag, he got hurt and your season was cooked. Then everyone else got hurt. You say you will address depth issues this offseason, but your pride kept you from getting a higher draft pick, and that pride allows Jera to mentally justify bringing back Mike McCarthy because, oh, it wasn't his fault Dakota got hurt. That has got to piss you off as a Cowboy fan. Another year Jerry marches towards senility, and another year is wasted in Dallas. It's just how we all like it. Usually you choke in January, and this year you did it in October. From all of us, thank you. The Dallas Cowboys Super Bowls 27 and 28. Thank God this one never happened, though it's probably more shocking that the early 90s Cowboys did not three-peat given the stacked teams that they had. After destroying the Bills in back-to-back Super Bowls, the Cowboys headed into the 1994 season looking unstoppable. Too bad the Niners assembled a super team and finished 13-3 to gain the #1 seed in the NFC, as the Cowboys finished 12-4. This would end up being critical, as the Niners would host an NFC Championship game that was sloppier than your mom after 3 mimosas, ending dem boys' three-peat bid and causing a sigh of relief from every NFL fan everywhere. The Cowboys would win the Super Bowl the following season, becoming one of only 2 teams to win 3 Lombardis in 4 seasons. The other is still on this list. Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys kicked so much ass in the 90s that they really didn't need very many pivotal TDs. That's why for them, I went with the OG Hail Mary. I mean, you have to give it to the play that gave birth to the name, right? In the 1975 divisional between the Cowboys and the Vikings, the Cowboys were down 3 with 24 seconds left. Roger Staubach hurled it deep into double coverage, and Drew Pearson came down with the ball. Now, this wasn't the first desperation pass in NFL history. However, in the post-game interview, Staubach said that he closed his eyes and said Hail Mary as he threw. And the name stuck. Side note, what if he had yelled Allahu Akbar? Dallas Cowboys. Well, here's a trope. Your owner is senile.
And we haven't been able to stop the run at key times.
No, that's not a joke. It's actually a true statement. Let me show you this montage of crying Cowboys fans. That's funny every time. all in my ass. Okay, that was funny. I get it, Skip Bayless. You like to get pegged. Oh, wait. What's the weather forecast? It's peaking in the 90s.
It's looking a little bit like those Dallas Cowboys, is peaking in the 90s.
Got him. Below field level suites, AT&T Stadium. Beneath AT&T Stadium, there are catacombs of hallways and tunnels that lead to luxury suites that are actually below field level. I've always wondered how this can be fun, as you would pay a bunch of money to stare at players' butts the entire game, as you are literally below the field in what looks like a dugout. There are actually 34 of these along both sidelines, and each suite features HD TVs, a bar and a kitchenette, an open patio, and delusional Cowboys fans. Quick side note, there is also a Victoria's Secret in AT&T Stadium, where Cowboys fans can buy their Cowboys-themed lingerie and thongs to wear for their girlfriends after the game. It also makes sense that you can't really see the game from some of these, since most of the fans are casuals anyways. Damn, shots fired repeatedly. Sorry, Lakers fans. Landry AT&T Stadium. I'm surprised where this one is placed. It's outside the stadium, offset from an entrance, and unless you are moving around the perimeter of AT&T, you won't come across this statue of legendary former Cowboys owner and head coach Tom Landry. I understand that Jerry wants to honor the guy he bought the team from, but also it's pretty obvious that Jerry don't want to share too much shine from the old fedora-wearing sideline boss, who he also fired. Otherwise, he would put it in a more prominent location. The statue itself is fine. I'm just waiting for Jerry to unveil his own statue, which will take up the entire front entrance of the stadium and depict Jerry on top of the mountain of bad moves he's made since 1996. AT&T Stadium, Arlington, Texas. Yes, AT&T Stadium is built near the ballpark, now Choctaw Stadium, and near where Globe Life Park is. And even though the space seems wide open and roomy, Jerry World was actually built on a neighborhood. Yes, the city of Arlington purchased land that was previously homes and apartment complexes and demolished them to make room for Palpatine's palace. The homes look pretty modest. I hope they got a good deal. Interestingly enough, what is now a parking lot for Globe Life Field was once a trailer park. Cotton Bowl, Dallas, Texas. The host of 3 NFL franchises, the Cotton Bowl served as the home of the Dallas Texans, who folded after 1 year, the Dallas Cowboys, who have been folding since 1996, and the Dallas Texans, who became the Kansas City Chiefs. The Cotton Bowl has had an odd life since it was built in 1930. It was basically empty other than the First Responder Bowl from 2011 to 2018, but will now be hosting a few lower level pro soccer clubs. It's not completely abandoned, but it is hanging on for dear life. Texas Stadium, Irving, Texas. This stadium was originally supposed to be fully enclosed, but for some reason, they just left a giant hole in the top of it. Serving as the Cowboys' home for 37 years, Texas Stadium was replaced by AT&T Stadium in 2009, and it was imploded that same year. Since then, though, not much has happened to the site. It was a temporary storage facility for about a year, then the whole site and adjacent lot was completely leveled. Now it's a mess of eroding land. However, the Sands Casino wants to put a resort here, but is waiting on Texas to change their gambling laws. Good luck with that.
Dallas Cowboys. Oh yes, the Dallas Cowboys. I already trigger Dallas Cowboys fans year-round, basically, and we all know, I mean, what do I say? The jokes have been said many times. You haven't been to, the whole conference championship game jokes since '95. Dak Prescott's a choker. Tony Romo was a choker. Jerry Jones is the devil reincarnate. I mean, like all the stuff, it's already been said ad nauseum. The Cowboys, they get 7 or 8 primetime games a year, even though they don't deserve it. They're the most overrated franchise in sports. I can say that over and over again. That's not really challenging because Cowboys fans expect that. So I'm going to do something challenging. I'm going to critique the early to mid 90s Cowboys. And one of the biggest things is, of course, it's hard to critique and criticize a team that won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. But I'm going to try and do it because that's one of the few things that Cowboys fans that are still alive today. A lot of you guys weren't alive in the 70s when Roger Staubach was there. Or at least a lot of Cowboys fans that were around back then have died because it was so long ago. So a lot of Cowboys fans, at least over the age of 40, the only championships they remember are the ones from the early 90s. I hear so often that, oh boy, if Jerry Jones didn't force Jimmy Johnson out, that the Cowboys of the 90s would have won 6 or 7 Super Bowls. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't have. You know why? Because if you ever took a look at Jimmy Johnson's coaching history, the guy only stayed at the same place for like 4 to 5 years at a time before he would get burnt out and he'd go away. So you guys won it in 92 and 93. Okay? Which, by the way, if there is such a thing as free agency back in the early 90s, you guys probably wouldn't have won in 92 and 93 anyway. But anyway, so because of free agency, with the 49ers signing Deion Sanders, you guys lost in 94. You came back with Barry Switzer, you won in 95. And that's when people say, oh, you know, if Jimmy Johnson had been there, the Cowboys would have won it and, you know, blah, blah. No, you wouldn't have. The Cowboys would not have beaten. You had the Packers, who made the next 2 Super Bowls, won a Super Bowl, and then you had the Broncos coming up. You had the greatest show on turf. The Cowboys' run in the mid-90s ended when it should have ended. You guys maybe could have squeaked out an extra Super Bowl appearance, but 3 Super Bowls in 4 years was the max that you guys were going to do, okay? You're basically just a little bit better than the Redskins were from 82 to 91, which doesn't get nearly as celebrated as the mid-early 90s Cowboys do. Like, every time I turn on my fucking television, I have to hear about the early 90s Cowboys and how great they were. Yes, they were great. We get it. That was nearly 30 years ago. It's 30 years ago. I mean, Jesus Christ. They still get talk Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin and Emmitt Smith. Oh, God. Guess what? What about now? What about the last 3 decades? Who cares? Fuck you. Seriously. Like, I'm sick and fucking tired of hearing about the triplets. I'm sick and fucking tired of hearing about Jimmy Johnson being forced out. I'm sick and fucking tired of hearing about how the Cowboys should have won like 5 or 6 Super Bowls in the 90s. No, you shouldn't have. You won as much. You probably won more than you should have won. Okay, because you were able to stack talent because there wasn't any free agency until like, what, 93, 94? I mean, come on now. Again, you guys, the early 90s Cowboys were basically a much more glorified version of the 80s and 90s Redskins. That's it. And some of you may say, well, that's not a very good burn, Barry. Well, guess what? I'm trying to be different. I'm trying to think outside the box here, outside from the normal 50 other things that I could easily say about the Cowboys that show that they're dog shit. So forgive me if my reasoning or what I'm saying doesn't seem to be hitting, but I'm trying because I'm trying to not be lazy, which is what the Cowboys have been for the last 30 years. Dallas Cowboys. Does this even count? I said head coach is their biggest position of need. I mean, head coach is a position, right? So you have all these great young candidates, and they decided to hire 51-year-old Brian Schottenheimer, who has been in the league for 2 decades, and he's never been a head coach before, but his record as an offensive coordinator, outside of, he had some good years with Seattle when Russell Wilson was in his prime, but outside of those Seattle years, his record is really, really not that good. And so it just such an uninspiring type of hire that you think it's like the Giants hiring Pat Shurmur or something. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you hiring this guy? There's nothing. I'll gladly eat my words. Well, actually, no, I wouldn't, because I hate the Cowboys. So I hope this hire fails. But if he ends up becoming a good head coach, and the Cowboys do have some talent, again, they won 12 games 3 straight years under McCarthy, then I guess I'll just have to admit to being wrong. But I think this is a terrible hire, and I think it really all starts with the head coach. And I think that the Cowboys are still going to be nothing to worry about as long as they got Brian 2 runs and pass on 3rd down Schottenheimer in Charlotte. Dallas Cowboys, 1964. Some of you might think, oh, it has to be one of those draft classes from the early 90s that they got from the Herschel Walker trade. Well, no, sir, it's not. In fact, the Cowboys' longest string of success was easily from the mid-60s to the early 80s, and this draft was a big part of that foundation. They drafted 3 Hall of Famers. Mel Renfro, defensive back, made 10 Pro Bowls. Bob Hayes, Bullet Bob Hayes, the Olympic track star, made 3 Pro Bowls, 2 first-team All-Pros as a Hall of Famer. Jake Cupp was a guard who made a Pro Bowler, but really the crown jewel of this class, as any class is when it comes to the quarterback position, was Roger Staubach, who made 6 Pro Bowls. Surprisingly, was never named first-team All-Pro, but he led the Cowboys to 2 Super Bowls and was named a Super Bowl MVP. He's widely considered, or at least largely considered by many, to be the best quarterback of the 1970s. Now, the one thing with Staubach is that he didn't become a starter until about 5 or 6 years after he was drafted because of his naval duties, or else maybe the Cowboys would have won a couple more Super Bowls with him under center. But still, a class with 3 Hall of Famers and a couple other solid starters, that's how you have a run that makes you become America's team, at least in the minds of a lot of people. Dallas Cowboys, Mike Vanderjagt, 2006. You're not going to see a lot of kickers make this list, but Vanderjagt is the exception. Famous for his chokes in the postseason with the Indianapolis Colts and for being an asshole, the Cowboys dished out a lot of money to Vanderjagt for a kicker. 3 years, $4.5 million with $2.5 million guaranteed. They expected him to solidify their position situation, obviously, and that's not what happened. Vanderjagt ended up missing some crucial field goals and lasted just 10 games with the Cowboys before they released him. And remember, this was the same year the Cowboys ended up losing in the wild card round on a snap that was bobbled by Tony Romo on a field goal. I just think it's ironic that they spent a shitload of money on their kicker, and that's how they ended up losing that year in the postseason, because they couldn't make a 19-yard field goal. The Cowboys are so hilarious. Vanderjagt would never play in the NFL again after the Dallas Cowboys, Brian Schottenheimer. Despite this being Schottenheimer's first ever head coaching job in the NFL, he is well known by NFL followers through years of offensive coordinator jobs, and also because he's the son of former head coach Marty Schottenheimer. Basically, the hire the Cowboys made to replace Mike McCarthy was seen widely as a terrible decision because Schottenheimer's history with his offenses is not great. But hey, Jerry Jones needs a new whipping boy and a guy who will be his patsy and do anything that he wants, and also a guy who he can fire pretty easily if things go bad. But this is the Dallas Cowboys. I don't really know. I mean, does anybody really expect them to win anything? Even when they are really good, they always end up choking. So even if Schottenheimer ends up surprising or ends up winning 11, 12 games, it doesn't really matter. I would say his hot seat ranking is 2 out of 5. I see this guy lasting maybe 2 or 3 years before the Cowboys move on to their next head coach. Dallas Cowboys, Jalen Tolbert. We all know that CeeDee Lamb is an elite receiver and he's the Cowboys' #1. That is without a doubt. But I believe that Tolbert can be one of the better #2 receivers, no offense to Odell Beckham, in the league. Last season, with Dak Prescott missing a lot of games, he had the best year of his career, recording over 600 yards and 7 touchdown catches. I believe this year, with Dak returning and Tolbert having another year of experience, that we're going to see him have a Pro Bowl caliber season that will ultimately end before the conference championship round, as the Cowboys are wont to do. Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott. Is Dak Prescott a good quarterback? Yes. The reason he's here is because I am sick and fucking tired of having to hear about Dak Prescott every single year because he's on the Dallas Cowboys and they get 8 nationally televised games a year and they're constantly shoved down our throats despite the fact that they haven't won shit since Tupac was alive, okay? Every single year. What does this mean for Dak Prescott? What does this mean for his legacy? Who gives a fuck? The guy is going into his 10th season in the NFL, okay? He's had plenty of opportunities to get Dallas deep in the postseason, go on a run, and he hasn't done it. Just like his predecessor, Tony Romo. But because he plays for the Cowboys, we have to constantly hear about Dak Prescott, even though he is a loser. He's never won anything. In the big moments, come playoff time, you know he's going to shit his pants. And I'm sick of everybody giving this guy more attention than he really deserves. That's why he's here on the overrated list. Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott. Here we are again with Dak. And look, I'm an Eagles fan. I hate the Cowboys. So people say, oh, you're so mean towards Dak. And I'm like, look, I don't give a shit. Dak, to me, it's Charlie Brown and Lucy with the football year after year after year. And it's Dallas Cowboys. And we have to hear about the fucking Cowboys. We have to watch them on prime time 8 or 9 times a year. And they get the most prime time games. And they get talked about more than any other team. And they haven't done shit in literally 30 years. And right now, as I'm speaking, they have a fucking documentary about the 90s Cowboys. And I'm like, yes, who fucking cares about the 90s Cowboys? It's time to move on. Those were your glory years 30 years ago. Tupac was still alive. Biggie was still alive, okay? But back to Dak, okay? We know he's a good quarterback. We know that he can beat up on bad teams. The rap on him is the same thing now as it's always been, really, for the last couple years. And it's going to be that way until he proves otherwise, which is he's a good quarterback who can put up big numbers in the regular season against bad teams. He can get you to the playoffs, but once he's there, he's not trustworthy. In big moments, he plays like the 4th rounder he was drafted as, right? That's really what it comes down to. It's easy to forget he's a former 4th round pick because he's had, compared to usual 4th round picks, he's had a hell of a career, but at the biggest moments, he always reminds you why he was a 4th round pick. So despite all the numbers and all the fame and attention he's gotten, we're entering year 10 now with Prescott. His prove it rating is still pretty high, 7.5 out of 10, okay? I mean, just you know, here's the deal, okay? Every team in the NFC has made at least one conference championship game since 2010, besides the Cowboys, who last made it in 1995. So get to a fucking conference championship game, at least, Dak. Come on, you don't want to be Tony Romo 2.
And now our feature presentation.
You've seen the Jimmy Haslam Guide to Contract Negotiations. I can't stand carrying this shithole. Get me out of here. No, the hell with you. I want to see a ring in my lifetime. I'm going to pay you $40 million a year. I love Cleveland. What do I sign? You've seen the Mike Brown Guide to Contract Negotiations. 1 year guarantee.
Really? I led the league in sacks last year.
1 year. Fuck this. 1 year. Get ready for tactics that will take your business to the next level. With Jerry Jones as your guide, learn how to play hardball with your employees. Make every situation into a public mess, and then use the art of persuasion to get them back to the table and seal the deal. To master this art, you must understand your personal worth as a manager. Jerry values himself as a man. His light shines like the sun, blinding everyone on the field at AT&T Stadium. He knows that posturing as the superior being is key to life. No matter what your underlings do, remember these 3 tenets. Always take full credit for the team's success. Deflect blame to a patsy underneath you. And never, I mean never, bring in people better than you. There's no one that does a better job than you. Yes, your fat, slovenly self jacking off to the most degenerate porn imaginable is the only one that can do the job properly. Jerry knows this as the Cowboys GM. You should too. The head coach isn't a man of his own volition. He's a conduit to the message of the owner. Jason Garrett wasn't there just to chew gum and vigorously clap. He's there to vigorously clap whenever Jerry walked all over him. When you negotiate with a coach or employee, for this example, Mike McCarthy, remember that competition is the root of all evil. Capitalism is great, except when labor is allowed to choose where they work. The Chicago Bears want to interview him. His contract may be expiring, but he's still under contract. To properly respond to this inquiry, repeat the following. Fuck you, suck my dick. Immediately hang up the phone. Then once you rob your prey of their leverage, you strike. Absolutely lowball the shit out of him. And then shit on that useless fucker from a perch. Money doesn't grow on trees. The only thing that grows is your ego. If he accepts it, great. If he rejects and leaves, great. That means you don't have to pay unemployment. Now with your power secured, you need a Manchurian candidate to take the heat for the inevitable shit shows to ensue. Brian Schottenheimer has never been a head coach, but he comes cheap and he'll shut up and bow to your power. This is negotiating Jerry Jones style. Jerry understands the philosophy of the 3 C's. Controversy creates cash. The more eyeballs on the Cowboys brand, the better for business. All publicity is good publicity. Vince McMahon knew this tenet well, and it led him to the delicious nectars of success in all facets of life. Mr. Jones and me tell each other fairy tales about the beautiful women. She's looking at you, Jerry. Or she might be looking at your money because you groped her against her will. When it comes to his players, Jerry loves to grope their desires for money at every turn. The bountiful bosom of talent is yours for the taking. You need to let them know who's in charge. And they're begging for a man to take hold, baby. Whip it out and start slapping the player you're negotiating with until he surrenders. Or most likely gets drawn out into a headache-inducing public spat. Why negotiate with logic and haste? Contracts are a game of chess played by masters of the art of business. You need to know when to strike. The key is to wait. And wait, then keep waiting. Other players can be signed, setting the market value for your product higher than originally thought, but what goes up must come down. It's common knowledge. The NFL isn't like any other business, however. Personal relationships are key, which is why you need to cheap out on employees whenever possible during the process. Better yet, throw them under the bus publicly for even daring to imitate Oliver Twist at the orphanage.
Just because we signed him doesn't mean we're going to have him. He was hurt 6 games last year. Seriously. We've signed, I remember signing a player for the highest paid at the position in the league, and he got knocked out 2/3 of the year. Dak Prescott.
Silly facts don't need to get in the way of a good narrative. It's always fair to criticize a sandwich when your hands made it. Just fire the cashier, he's the one who rung it up. Now you need to play good cop. The time has come to talk to your man one-on-one. Off the record, informally, and low-key. Schmooze him up over a cigar and a few drinks. Make small talk, crack a few jokes, spitball about the next contract, and have a great night out. Seems unimportant? Hell no, you're negotiating with him. This is all business, son. Jerry knows that agents and middlemen merely muck up the playing field with their law verbiage and written documentation. Violation of the league's ethics and bad faith negotiating. To who? Some uppity fuckwit in the NFLPA? They can just be bribed off like everyone else over there. These actions all lead to the climax. Your employee or player is so pissed off that they're openly demanding a trade out and refusing to work. It may be seen as an embarrassment to the rest of the league, but you know what you're doing. The master stroke is almost at hand. Then, when all your leverage seems lost, give them the final offer. They'll be so browbeaten they'll agree to anything. Wait a second, this is significantly higher than what they would have agreed to when you first started negotiating. What the f? Congratulations, you've successfully negotiated the Jerry Jones way. Look at these success stories of business genius. Dak Prescott, original projection of $50 to $55 million a year. Paid $60 million a year. CD Lamb, original projection of $25 to $30 million a year. Given $34 million a year. Wow. Micah Parsons, original projection of around $35 million a year. Will most likely be paid $42 to $45 million per annum. By somebody. If you can mangle the salary cap like Jerry can, the star inside you is shining bright. Cap's a social construct anyway. So next time you're dealing with an unruly employee requesting a raise or promotion, think of these steps to succeed. If you make them want to take a shit on your office desk, you're doing it right.
Yeah, it has.
Last time we talked, Micah Parsons was in the middle of a stalemate with his noble master. But all stories must conclude. Jerry Jones is a man who refuses to be wrong. What matters to him at the end of the day is not the team, but his image. Micah wants to be a malcontent lying down on trainers' benches. He wants to have his agent negotiate on his behalf. This is an unbelievable sin. Imagine a world without player agents. It'd be such a wonderful one. The time has come. The final offer. Jerry will give him one he legitimately can't refuse. $40.5 million a year. Guaranteed money, why would he want that? He wants $47 million a year now? You fucking crazy? That's blasphemy! Well, this is getting pretty awkward. The Cowboys may have minimal leverage and everything was botched to the point of no return, but trading him when his value is depressed is optimal. Congratulations! You successfully botched this. Oh my word. Dallas is getting their asses kicked in Green Bay already? It's not even January yet. I'm personally loving the fact that they state his agent orchestrated everything in regards to his contract. You could have paid Micah around $35 million a year 18 months ago, and now he's breaking the market for edge rushers again. Well fucking play, Jerry. You got an aging defensive lineman who had it down year and 2 firsts that'll be in the 20s in return. His reasoning's phenomenal. You can scheme pressure with Kenny Clark. You need to be able to stop the run. You know who could do that shit too, Jerry? Micah Parsons. He had a better PFF grade against the run than Kenny last year, for fuck's sake. So now you might have a better chance at stopping the run, but now might have trouble getting pressure on the quarterback. Now this is a man that knows football. What's that, Jerry? You could get Pro Bowl caliber players with those picks. My brother in Christ, you had a borderline generational edge rusher. You can't get much better than that. He did the meme. I can't believe it. He did the fucking meme. He's hoping that this was all by design. He says he has no regrets. This is incredible. I hope Jerry lives forever. This man is a gift to the rest of the football world. I, for one, raise my glass in celebration. Total Jerry Jones victory.
Take my advice and a pistol and go behind that tent and blow out what's left of your brains.